Hey guys, welcome to the Heart of David. I hope you guys are doing well wherever you are in the world. I meant to make this video. I went to make this video last night. As you can tell, and I don't know if I can make that smaller because you can see more of my apartment now, but it's because I had to unregister my software and put it on a different computer because I don't know if you guys know, computers and going to school and just like softwares and, for recording and stuff. Man, you go in one window, go to another window, one thing fails, this, another thing fails, install this, uninstall this. I've been doing that kind of stuff now for a number of years anyways. Just like, you say, why do you use it? Because, well, how else am I going to do this? So listen to what happened last night. And so I'm going to tell you my topic, though, first. But I want to tell you what happened. Well, I just want to talk about this world, some of the things that are happening in this system. You see the way our world looks right now? You don't have to look very far and understand that. When Jesus said that it'll be kingdom against kingdom, I only imagine that when I look at what's happening with, there'll be inner conflicts. There'll be places that, like the States and Canada, that you think are so close, but all of a sudden something happens and then it spirals out of control. I'm not saying it's going to, but if you look at all the rhetoric and you see all that type of stuff, it's quite understandable that in this time. So I'm going to talk about some stuff, but I want to say this first. Last night I went to make a video. Actually, first I want to say this, and I've been waiting to say this. I've been wanting to talk about this, but I had to wait till I finished it first, and I did. So I got my license yesterday, my full license. Well, halfway, but I have no restrictions anymore. I don't have any restrictions anymore, which just means, it's like a graduated licensing thing. So the next one, this is for car. I already have my motorcycle, but there's just zero restrictions on it at all, except for alcohol. But who's going to drink alcohol anyways, these days and do that? Well, some people will, but anyways, I got that, so that's good. Thank you. I'm very breathless. I had to cancel my first introduction. It's just like, I have a bad throat disorder in my esophagus, so it spasms when it wants to, and it gets better as my meds kick in. So I went to make this video last night on a different computer. I bought two of the same computers for backup, because it's a smart idea if you have a computer, especially if you're in school, to have a backup, and I do. My computer was just fine except for this. I took it to get fixed just for like a fan issue. It was just a fan issue. There wasn't anything wrong with the computer. But when I got it back, something was different. And I went to do this using Bandicam. That's the software I use. And when I press record, I can see my face just as you can see it on the screen there. It was black. And I'm like, they screwed up with my settings, and there's like 1,000 settings. Yeah, I go through nothing. I lost all my study time last night just trying to figure it out. And then I'm like, okay, well, look at the Windows camera. Is that one okay? It wasn't. I'm like, what is this? Then I look at the camera, at my camera, and there's like these little white lines over the camera lens. I'm like, I've never seen that before. What the heck is this? I'm like, they put a sticker over it. And so I'm like, take my finger, try to rub it, and then I try to take my nail to see if it will come off like a sticker, and it looks like it's coming off. All of a sudden, through the blackness, I see my face. I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, I hope I don't break this thing. I only found out the next day that it was HPs have a slider, but you can't see the slider. It's so like, in any case, there's a slider over the lens. I thought it was a sticker, and I ended up cracking the lens. And I almost did this one too, just to... Anyways, I'm very lucky that didn't happen on this one. So I had to transfer, because you can't use the software on both of them at the same time. So I had to unregister, register, get the serial number, send it to your email. The same with the editing part, man. And then the very same day, no, that was today, my printer driver just absolutely failed. And that's failed like twice, just for absolutely no reason. My settings, all of my settings are just fine. Uninstall it, install it. On my other computer, it's failed. These things haven't failed me for years. I don't know if it's because I took it to the guy and then they... But anyways, this is just like the normal stuff I'm going through. And if you're still listening to me, you know, as a Christian, these are the things that can really stress a human being out. And, guys, I'm in school. I'm trying to get somewhere in my life. For the first time after being sick for so long, and still am, but God sure is taking me far. So let's get into these topics. I have to spend so much time studying, it's not even funny. Just today was like 5 hours just reading. I think this topic will interest you. These aren't things that I can save to the end because I'll just forget, but I like to get them out first. You know as well as I, you know who I believe the false prophet and the Antichrist are. And anyone who's prejudging me just because I believe a certain... We already know we're in the time, so, I don't know why you would judge me when I have quite a lot of evidence. You're going to have to look back, but I do believe it's Elon Musk and Donald Trump. The news cycles are just... I see videos that are saying, this is how we're going to save the West. And it seems everyone has an opinion, right? Everyone has an opinion, and it's the people that are putting them forth as if they're being listened to. I think there is one way to save the West. If Jesus Christ was not coming and this wasn't all happening, let's just say, right? How would we save? How would we save the West? There's only one way without absolutely destroying ourselves. I think some of you know what the answer is immediately. What is it? I'm looking at it. You're looking at it too. It's called the internet. This is the most underrated, underestimated. People are not smart. People are not intelligent in this capacity. They aren't. They don't see it. They don't see that everything is perpetuated. Wars are perpetuated. What was that? The Arab Spring? What was that? 2013? When all of a sudden it just spread from one nation to the next, like Facebook? And the leaders who were being overthrown were blaming Facebook and saying, shut it off. Everyone has an opinion. You listen to the wrong and incorrect information. These things build up to war. They build up to animosity and strife. It's the internet. I like listening to music on the internet. A lot of music. Because, when I'm studying, I keep it quiet, but when I'm doing work, when I'm doing an essay, when I'm doing a paper. For instance, all the trash that's out there. I like a song called Black Velvet, and I think it's a good sound. And I listen to it, and then it's like, you turn on the song, and then on the side for recommendations of YouTube shorts, there's like all these women, and they're all dancing to Black Velvet with like zero clothes on, with maybe 10% on. This is where we are. I have some very interesting information to share with you that is true because I've studied it. I saw the stats, I know the real stats, and I'm going to challenge what people actually think. I have a video I'm going to show you at the end of this that you'll like. It's at the end of Daniel, right before the writing on the wall part. I'm going to show you a video of that. You'll probably like it. And try to imagine actually being there. There's 3 things I'm going to talk about here that intersect with one another. Just give me a sec. I know you can see more of my apartment back there. You can see my fridge. You want something in there? You can see my door. Yesterday, I went to get my license, finally. And, I got my G, and then I went for my G2, so I had my test. And in that test, something happened, by the way, that is not regular. It was actually really rare to happen. And I thought, as if this is happening to me right now. The test went absolutely fine, except for one thing. That was not in any of the handbooks. I came to a stop sign, 4-way stop sign, and there was a bus with his thing out, right? You have to stop in front and in back, right? When the bus comes out like that. But at a 4-way stop, there it was. And I said to him, this isn't usual. And he agreed. And he said, you're at a stop sign, you go. But I said I was going to wait for him anyways. Anyways, I passed that test, but then I ended up behind that bus. Listen to this. So I live in Ottawa, okay, capital of Canada. There's an agenda throughout the globe for immigration. Whatever you want to call it. Excuse me. So imagine this. When I was young, where I live here, see, we're known as a multicultural country that has always known to get along with multicultures. And I'm actually taking multicultural counseling and addiction, one of my subjects right now. And I've actually learned quite a bit in there. I don't look at anyone differently. That's me. And anyone can accuse me of anything, go right ahead, because it won't be true. When I was young, where I live here, it was mostly Caucasian people, right? White people. And, not to say there wasn't other cultures, there certainly is. But that built up throughout the years. And, that's fine as long as, we get along and stuff like that. They live throughout our neighborhoods everywhere, right? We all seem to get along. So picture this. It's really, really increasing, like to a detrimental effect. Imagine going in a city of, say, 1.1 million people. Probably around 1.1 million people is my guess. And they only have one DMV, Department for Transportation, to go write your tests, to go take your tests out in the car, that type of thing. Get all your licenses and registrations. There's only one drive test center for 1 million people. So that gives me even a more idea of the statistics here. I don't embellish what I'm saying here, each time you go in there, there's probably about 120 people. My dad took me there. My dad went in. He knows. He's seen it as well. I would say 97% not white. Mostly African and like Arab from Muslim countries. That's what it is. How am I supposed to feel in that? I felt alien, like in my own country. And what is that a reflection of? What is that a reflection of? And I know what a lot of people are going to say. We're going to say we need them for work and stuff like that. But you don't understand this. Number one, they've let in, Trudeau all of a sudden, like around COVID, he doubled how many people you bring in per year. He doubled it. It's a strain on our healthcare system. Okay? It's the same probably in the UK and other Western countries. This is not unique. But per population, we have the most of any country, even more in the States. But we're letting them in. This is a serious matter. Why? Because the people they're letting in are above age 30, which means they're not having children. Why are they doing this? I don't know if the people that they're bringing in actually have skills, if they have whatever, if it's on merit. I don't know. But what does that say about the transportation place being 97% Arab and African? What does that say? That says to me that these are just recent people that they're still letting in because they're just getting their license. It's not that they waited here and they've been here for 10 years and then they went to get it. No, these are new people. That's what let me know that. It's crazy. This is what they're doing all over the world. And I'll tell you why I think it's happening. And you're going to... Okay, so I'm going to give you... So there's that. Now listen to this stat. And this is what most people, I would say 99% of people don't understand. And I know it's a fact because I see it in my textbook. And I also watched it on the video for someone who explained the full reasoning of that it's not immigration that we need. It's to stop the immigration. And I'm going to give you some stats. It's an agenda. You say, no, it isn't. You're just making this stuff up. You're just saying whatever. You haven't looked in Sweden. You haven't looked in Germany, the UK. Looks like the UK is just about taking over. You see all the riots in France? It's happening in Western countries. It's the building of the Tower of Babel. That is what I believe. Look at the States. Look at how many people they let in. Like maybe 15 or 20 million people. That's insane. Not only that, but it makes me wonder, were all these people, all the leaders, Macron, Starmer, and all the people that were before him, all the way from like Liz Truss, and there's been a line of them. So Macron and Merkel and Trudeau and Biden and Brazil, whatever his name is, they're all from the World Economic Forum. They all are. Even Putin was. It makes me wonder if they planted them at all a specific time so they could all enact something together. And if that is true, it's working. It's working. They're flooding our countries. So much so that the healthcare is absolutely strained. Because I suffer with illness and because I had to go to the hospital so many times for when I got this injury, I went there maybe 30 times. And each time the strain on the system was I'd be in the waiting room and it would be recent immigrants. That's what it was. I have nothing against anyone. It's never about that. They're doing an injustice they're changing the fabric of our society completely. And I do take offense to that. And then this is where these statistics are. You say, well, Dave, they need people to cover the work that other people are not going to do. So what's the issue? Is that really the problem? It turns out that's not the real problem. Why? In my studies, it says there's a scale. There's like it slides back and forth. If you were to take out, you see, as people start to, okay, so you wonder why when immigrants come here, even though it's expensive, they have a lot of kids. Why? It's just what people do. Poor people tend to have more kids, number one. They just do. But when people start to make more money and start to get up to the middle class and then like maybe the right in the middle or just, upper mid class, what happens is people tend not to have as many kids. That's just a fact. And that's what I read. And that's what this video I watched also said. And what happens is if you were to lower the immigration and take the strain off the healthcare system, what would happen? It's immigration in our country right now and throughout many countries that are causing inflation there. You push so much strain on the system in general, you have a lot of problems. A lot. Resources are being sucked up. Here's the reality. You don't need all these extra people. It's never been that way. If you take them away and you take the strain off the resources, what happens is you have more prosperity. People can afford more. And when people can afford more, they start having more kids. Do you get it? It's always been that way. But people are blinded to what I just told you. There's a lie out there that we have to pull these people in. You take that strain off, right? They change the social fabric. We've always been countries that, will gladly take in people on merit and people who, that are being persecuted, that are refugees, right? And people that come through the system legally. You can't just flood a nation. And so when I sat or stood at the MTO, Motor Transportation, overwhelming. Like, what's going on here? You know what time we're in. And if you believe what I say about Donald Trump and Elon Musk, you know how far we really are. Look at what they're doing to the West. They're winning. These evil people are winning. They don't want borders. They want Babylon again. It's a lie. You don't need immigrants to take all these places, all these jobs. What I just said was true. So I clicked on a video the other day. I don't really watch his channel anymore at all, except if I see something that I know that I want to watch. And it was Valuetainment. I don't really watch them anymore because of their politics. And it was Maxime Bernier of Canada. I think he's from Quebec. He's French, so whether he lives in Quebec, I don't know. But what did he say? He just reiterated exactly what I just told you. He showed a video, and you can probably find it. Just look at Maxime Bernier. Valuetainment, and you'll see the video. Go through the video and look at the video that they're showing, okay? Now this makes me it'll make any Canadian angry. There are probably more than 500,000 people overstaying their visas, which means they're there illegally and they should be taken out of the country. Imagine that strain taken off the healthcare system. The inflation would start going down. In any case, the policies that Justin Trudeau and that government have done, and they were no different than the Biden administration. They were like pretty much the same. Ignoring the things that should be taken care of immediately. There are students, many of them, who are scamming their way into Canada from India. I'm sure you're well aware of these people. This is where we are, and this is what Maxime Bernier shows. I ask you to go look for that video. There's an Indian student, and they're doing this all across Canada. This is the gall of the youth today. Not just the youth, but imagine someone coming and standing in your house that you're paying for, and saying to you, I have a right to be here. And they stay there and you can't do anything about it. Let's just say, no, you rent a room to them, right? You're saying, we have a deal together that you're only staying here for a month and you're gone. But after that month, this is what they're doing. They're setting up protests around universities all across Canada. And most of their visas are they're overstayed. They have the gall to protest and say, we want to stay. They're using our own system against us. They're supposed to be gone after their school. There is no deal to let them in. But they're saying, we must stay. Go watch the video. This is where we are in society right now. You know what? I don't trust any leaders anymore. I don't trust any leaders. Maybe local leaders. I just look at them and I just like, and I heard people on my channel saying to me that I voted for Trump or whatever, it was the best choice. And hey, to be honest, I would have voted for Trump before I knew all these things too. And it would have been based off all the things that Kamala Harris stood for. And it was the better choice. How are you supposed to know who Donald Trump really is? Can you imagine that? I deserve to be here. Imagine in other countries, just some other countries. Imagine a Canadian, imagine me standing in India, putting a rope around so you can't enter, right? Because this is my protest zone. They would kill you. They would kill you. They'd probably burn you alive. This is where we are, and this is why you have to put your faith in Jesus Christ, right? I'm going to show you videos soon, and then I'm going to get back to being a bookworm. And probably, there's times where I'm just like reading, and all of a sudden I'm like, what? It happens quite a bit. I just want to make sure I don't forget anything here. You know what my dad just said yesterday? He said he read a story about those orbs. He said this was someone's deathbed confession that was from NASA. You know what NASA means? To deceive, right? Their symbol, it's the snake tongue. Go look at the symbol. It's a snake tongue. It's all an agenda. It's all the devil's agenda. In any case, he said they managed to bring down an orb and it went to the bottom of the ocean. I'm not ruling out that these things could be fallen angel stuff. I think a lot of people are starting to understand there's a lot of stuff going on in our world. But so this orb of whatever size, they get it, they cut it apart or whatever. And this man is saying he touched the edge of it, and they're saying it's not from this world. and he could hear his own thoughts through it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't dwell on those things, right? Just like, I don't get into those things, but I thought you might have found that interesting. And then those pyramids, I don't know. I think of Revelation 9. And they had a king over them in the bottomless pit, right? And his name is Abad Don. Abad Donald Trump. I don't know. Apollyon of who he worships in his Trump Tower. You know that. He does. Doesn't it look like all the leaders who are in the world, like all of a sudden after 2020, which I believe could be the beginning of you know what, something to do with the beginning of tribulation. When you would look on YouTube and stuff to find any people in the government, like you see now, all the politics are everywhere. They really came in. You had to go on C-SPAN to see a lot of government, congressional hearings, all this type of stuff. But they took over. Do you notice that? This is what people forget. I believe that the World Economic Forum set up these people to converge at a certain time. Because look at who's out there, man. It seems like Emmanuel Macron is everywhere. He's over here, he's over there. That's like the UK is over here, they're over there. Trump's with the king. Like, this is what you hear if you pay attention to YouTube and all that type of stuff, and you know what's going on in the world. It's unreal. It's like the kings of the earth. It's like that, and I'm sure we're going to know the true meaning of all that very soon. So, before I play the Daniel video, I just want to explain one more thing. And you might be interested in this. So, I'm in geology. And I'm actually doing quite well, thank you. Thank you. It's actually a very interesting subject. To know what the process are, the cycle of the rocks, the planets. Yes, it involves the planets because it affects our Earth. So, the Big Bang Theory. Why do planets all the way to Pluto have asteroid hits all over the place? All of them do. It seems to form a theory that actually sounds, I never thought I'd say this until I read all the information. They do their best to make things fit. They really do. Scientists do. The Big Bang Theory, the way they describe it, it seems to fit. What I'm saying, this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's what, not their theory. But God made the heavens and the earth, so there was something happened, right? And God left us the evidence of a lot of stuff. So I don't hate science in the way that, there are scientists out there that know there's a God and they love God. But do you know that Big Bang Theory right now is being challenged? Why? When you look on a telescope really far, they say it's expanding. The universe is expanding. And there's just so much stuff I could say, but you can see a faint light. And it's like a red. You can see it. I don't know if it's like infrared, but you can see a light like many, many billions of galaxies away, or at least hundreds of millions. And they believe it's the edge of space. And in any case, I'd have to go over the process, but they're being challenged because they're finding, you see, they're saying that the Earth and everything around it, first you have a supernova explosion, right? And then all of a sudden, things get flung out and then they come back together and they form minerals and all this type of stuff. And so they know the certain ages of the rocks and how planets come together. And what they're finding now, just of late, absolutely turns Einstein's theory on its head to be untrue. Because what looks like is that there are galaxies right to the furthest reaches that they can see that shouldn't be the way they are. That's what I mean. They're formed in a way that makes them old. Like there's a galaxy like here, really far away, where they thought the furthest they saw away was just new stuff. But it turns out there's old stuff. So their theory is not coming in right. But I'll tell you something. From reading it, it sounds like they're dead on with so many things when you look into the information of geology, the rock cycle, the way rocks are recycled through, magma, igneous rock, how it gets compacted back down in the ocean, sediment carries it down to the ocean by valleys and streams. I could go on. They're right about a lot of stuff. And the reality is, it's just the way God made it. An impossible universe. Something so intricate. You've seen what he does with the Bible. He makes it into a maze that goes more places probably than the universe has stars. In any case, I'm going to show you the video. When you look into the Big Bang Theory, go read a geology book. Go read a beginner geology book, the whole thing. And you'll be really interested because it's God who does all these processes. You look at science and you want to hate it because you know there's a God. Right? A lot of people are like that, but I'm learning not to be like that. You see, I grew up loving God, and my dad is a leading scientist, like an epidemiologist for veterinary medicine. And I always felt that just like, I had the feeling he always used scientific stuff. He was a believer, but I wasn't so sure throughout my life. And, I had my mom was a believer, and I would always look to her, when it came to things of God. And it was like the scientist versus, that's what I dealt with in my life. So I'm going to show you this and then finish this off. Hope you enjoyed this video. I want to say two things before I play this video. Maybe you've seen it. The writing on the wall from Daniel. It's pretty good, actually. It's just about 9 minutes. Immigration, illegal immigration as well. The letting in of mass amounts of people that are overwhelming our housing. Those ratios. You can't offset the ratio by a certain amount, but they are, and they don't care. They're destroying us. They're destroying us. They're destroying the West. And you're likely going to see, like I told you a long time ago before it happened, right-wing groups, far right-wing groups. And you can see that in Germany. You can see it in the States. You can see it in other places. This is how Hitler was born. But I also want to say this. I think it's excellent to be able to look at a person of color, to look at a different culture, someone in a different culture, whatever color they are, whatever ethnicity they are. We're all one in Christ. We are all one in Christ. And it's few and far between that someone's really honest about this situation. And in my university class, I've had to discuss, their live discussions. I don't mean like on video. I mean like you're right, and then you speak to each other. You have to leave scholarly sources and all that type of stuff. Honestly, and I know I'm not the only one, when I was a kid, see, I have autism, so I was different, and there were many things I was different than other people in. And I did feel uncomfortable around people of color, but not because of who they are, because I didn't understand it. That I don't have that barrier any longer. And I just ask you to challenge those things in your life, because we're all just, we're just, you're watching my video, you're likely a brother in Christ. It's too bad that those things have to happen, and all the things in this world, you know, there's suffering in this world, and I've been a large part of it. And so have you, likely. But try to remove those barriers, and just always try to see the truth in everything. And actually, to tell you the truth, I can't imagine, I'm being honest, I can't imagine growing up as a black youth, because I from what I read, from what I'm seeing, and it's not just that, it's other ethnicities, they are viewed different, right? In a dominant culture of, you know, a European type culture. American European is what they called. And if that offends you, you don't know the truth yet. It's actually true. But, you know, you just say that's just a regular society, and that is true. But the fabric is changing so much that it's only right to you can't keep a white culture like predominant the way that you would treat one person, versus you're going to have in our country 50-50. We are basically at 50-50 now. 50 Caucasian, 50 whatever else the rest is. So we have to be good to them, right? We have to be good to them and treat them in a cultural manner. I'm not one of those people who's saying, you know, BLM and all those things. It's not that. I look for the real truth in it. I've probably said too much, and so anyways, let's take a look.
Bring me the golden vessels from the Temple of Jerusalem.
But my king, is it wise to use the vessels?
My king, these cups are considered sacred. Are they not, my king?
Perhaps in Jerusalem!
Sorry guys, this compared to my other one was only like this big. This one's really wide. For some reason, I think this is the only size, and I'm not gonna not have a screen, so just deal with it.
But here they are spoiled for our gods, and they would have me use them as I see fit. Bring them!
So in case you don't know what this is King Nebuchadnezzar's grandson. So Nebuchadnezzar is likely probably still alive. He's just old. And so this is, what's his name? Belteshazzar. It's almost like Daniel's name that they gave him. So this is his grandson, and this is the writing on the wall story. And he's demanding that the cups from the temple in Jerusalem be brought so they can drink wine out of.
Yes. You see these vessels? In Jerusalem, they were used for the worship of their god. Now, instead of the blood of bulls and rams, let them flow with foaming wine. For I am not a devourer of blood. I am a devourer of drink. And choice fare. To Marduk, the god of our city. Marduk! And to our idols of gold and silver, bronze and iron, wood and stone, partake of our pleasures and protect our city.
want you to think about this. Just as sure as you see me on the screen and as sure as you're watching this, this took place. This is real. This really happened.
Whoever reads this and tells me what it means shall be clothed in purple and have a gold chain placed around his neck and be made third highest ruler in the kingdom.
It says in the Bible, in the book of Daniel, that, so they don't show this, but they should have, that when he saw the handwriting starting on the wall, his knees were knocking together. And from what I heard in Law of Liberty, and I haven't looked into it since, into the story, he believes it was his bowels let loose. I don't know, but in any case, it would be pretty scary. This would be pretty scary.
And all the king's wise men came in, but they could not interpret the inscription or tell the king what it meant. So Belshazzar became even more terrified.
A Judean once told Nebuchadnezzar, your forefather, of his dreams. He succeeded when everyone else had failed. This man, Daniel, whom the king called Belteshazzar, he could tell you what this writing means.
Does he still live?
He does.
Bring him to me quickly, but do not harm him. We shall soon learn if this Hebrew can do as you say.
Nothing, it would seem. It's too sacred not to be profaned under the influence of wine.
Nothing, okay. How can I be of service, Highness?
Are you Daniel? One of the exiles my father brought back from Judah?
I am he.
I am told you are able to give interpretations and solve difficult problems. If you can read the writing on that wall, you will be clothed in purple, have a chain of gold placed around your neck, and be made third highest ruler in the kingdom.
Long ago, I told your forefather, Nebuchadnezzar, that I would speak to him only the truth, and that if he rather not hear it, he should ask me nothing. Perhaps it would be better if you asked me nothing.
No. It is unseemly for a king to be baffled by a message in his own hall. No human hand has scribed it. No other tongue can interpret it. Tell me what it means. Be it for good or ill.
Okay. The most
So can you imagine Daniel walks in that room? Who knows if he looked at the wall first? He probably looked at the king first. And then he looked at the wall. I'm sure many people were staring at it. Can you imagine that very moment? Can you imagine? Did Daniel know right away what it was? What it meant? Probably. And so he would have known when no one else did, and who knows what would have come into his heart? Fear, fear, like just for a second, and then like kind of jubilation. Who knows? But I just want you to emphasize to you that this really happened. Can you imagine being? Think of the things Daniel saw.
Most High God, give your
Be it for good or ill.
Okay. The Most High God gave your father, Nebuchadnezzar, greatness and glory. But when his heart became arrogant, he was deposed from his throne and stripped of his glory, until he acknowledged that the Most High is sovereign over the kingdoms of men. Even though you knew all this, you should have appealed to him. Instead, you set yourself up against the Lord of heaven. You had the goblets of his temple brought to you and praised the gods of bronze and iron, wood and stone instead of him. These vessels were made for the service of the Most High, and you have used them to pour wine for your harlots. Would you humble the Almighty by desecrating his possessions? Would you bind him like a captive and beat him like a slave? Would you pluck out his eyes and have him beg for scraps of food beneath your table? This you would do if you could, and the Almighty knows it. This is his answer to you. The Lord God will strike you down like an enemy, for he has bidden his angel to unsheath his sword. These, then, are the words he has written. Mene. God has numbered the days of your reign and brought it to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed in the scales and found wanting. Arsene, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. This very night, your life will be demanded of you, and before the sun rises, your flesh will grow cold. Thus saith the Lord, your line is ended, your rule is over, your kingship is no more.
Is there nothing to be done?
No. In your arrogance, you have doomed not only yourself, but your house, your line, your inheritance, your city, and your kingdom. Choose now where you will spend your last few hours. But knowing your fate, who now will love thee? Who now will fear you? Will the least of your slaves comfort you? Or will they desert you, seeking to avoid the fate which is yours?
Let it be as I have commanded. Let this man be clothed in purple, a chain of gold placed around his neck. For I am not dead yet.
How crazy. And then the Medes and the Persians, you know, come the open gate, right? What did they do? They dammed the river, right? And it dried up and they went through the gates. But in any case, I thought I'd show you that. That was pretty good, eh? Anyways, there's a lot to think about there. And the writing on the wall itself, I don't know if I can get a good view of it, but he said quite a bit for one word, eh? It's like, you know, what does many mean? You know, it's like he says, like, Daniel says, like 15 words. Anyways, this happened. God bless, guys. Have a good night.